Okay. uh, okay. Welcome everyone to From Scribble to Skyrocket, a podcast where I'm documenting my preparation for change. I'm documenting my preparation for my sabbatical, which is my change. And generally, it's just a podcast about preparing for change, whether that is a career change, moving to a different city, leaving full-time work to go to back to education or pursuing a business, just anything that kind of involves leaving your comfort zone, but you intentionally prepared for it. And if you've come this far, it is episode 19 now. I'm pleased to share with you that it is the 1 year anniversary of From Scribble to Skyrocket. And I'm really happy about this. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of myself as well, because I just felt like I wasn't going to get this far. I just generally didn't think I was going to get this far because I just struggle with consistency. It's just a big thing for me. And I also know of myself that I'm very much a starter and not a finisher. So yeah, following through and still being here 1 year later is kind of a big deal for me, because I've also realized that there are so many ideas that I have in my head that I start or that I want to start, but because I know of myself that I'm a starter and not a finisher, I don't even bother starting anymore because I'm just like, oh, the disappointment of like not following it through. So yeah, I am really, really pleased that I'm here today celebrating From Scribble to Skyrocket. So last episode, I spoke about moving in silence and about what that means for me specifically. And for me personally, it's all about accountability. And I also shared that when I move in silence, it's because I'm avoiding accountability. And when I actually share my ideas, it is because I want that accountability and I want that external pressure. So just about a year ago, I had a consultation with a confidence and creativity coach about launching the podcast. And I was sharing with her, this is my idea, this is what I want to do, this is why I'm scared of doing it. I'm scared of putting myself out there. I'm scared of what are people going to think, etc. I was scared of committing. That was definitely one of my number one things. I was scared of committing to the podcast as well. And she said, what if you fast forward a year from now and you haven't done it? How would you feel about it? If you kind of look back in your notebook, you see that you've written the idea down and you're like, how would you feel? And I remember saying I'd just be really disappointed that I didn't start or that I didn't try. So yeah, here we are a year later. So I'm celebrating, and I thought it would be very appropriate to share this episode with a really, really very special guest, with someone who has just been very impactful to me in various ways, directly and indirectly, over the last couple of years. Someone who has created the space to kind of help me explore what it is that's stopping me from doing things, or what it is that's stopping me from pursuing ideas and trying new things. And she kind of created the space and helped me shift from the I'd like to do this or the I'll try to do this mindset to the I will do this, I'm going to do this mindset. And then just let me, step out of my comfort zone to kind of feed my curiosity or even just to better myself. So today I am joined with the founder of Vibe 365, Beverly Akufo-Addo. Hi, Beverly.
Hey, Martha. I want to say a big congratulations to you. I am
Oh,
incredibly proud because I remember the initial conversations we had about your podcast.
yes.
And then the kind of shyness around promoting it, putting it out there, and just how far you've come with it over the last year. And I'm so glad that, you took action, and here you are 1 year later. So I'm very excited for 13 months later, 15 months later. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
But thank you so much for inviting me on here. I'm excited for today's
I
conversation.
just felt it was only right, and kind of on the theme of stepping out of comfort zone, decided to do it in the studio as well.
Yes.
And just try new things and forever evolving, forever learning,
Yeah.
and having fun with it.
That's the key.
And having fun with it.
Yeah.
100%. So would you like to say a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about Vibe 365.
Absolutely. So as you introduced me very wonderfully, thank you very much. I am a confidence and creativity coach, and also a leadership and belonging specialist. And I just like bringing the vibe wherever I go. And I think that's important. When you touched on having fun with it, a lot of the time change can feel really fearful or scary. So it's how do we make it fun and exciting and look at like the adventures of life if we're to make life our playground instead of like, okay, all of these things are going to just drag me back, and being able to shift our mindset over there instead. And 5365 was created as a coaching and consulting platform to create unstoppable people in a world full of limits.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the time there's so many caps, not that they are not real, but it's, if I believe that I am unstoppable, I will always find a new space or a new door to create. What does that look like for me? And how do I do that in a community of other people who want to be able to go along the same journey?
And with that, actually, I met you through a mutual friend.
Yes.
Like years and years and years ago. I keep meeting people through mutual friends, which I actually think is amazing because it kind of also goes to show that my friends circle is quite, is full of quality people.
That's
like,
right.
It's quite reassuring. So I'm just like, okay, having the discernment of knowing people's also, the people that they hang around with and associate themselves with. So meeting people and amazing people through my friends, I'm just like, yep, I've got the right people around me. It's kind of like a tick.
And it's a reflection of yourself and your character too.
Exactly. But like, I remember 100 years, I was going to say 100 years. Challenge 100. I feel like Challenge 100 was the first time I like really engaged with you and engaged in like a group setting. And I can't remember what my challenges were, but it was kind of like setting a goal for yourself for 100 days, wasn't it? And you were just a natural at like bringing people together with a common goal, or even if that common goal is working on themselves personally, but sharing their progress. There was something about that, and I feel like you've done that in very different formats as well. So you'll also do it through your Instagram by sharing your own journey with people, which opens up the floor, because I know how many times I've DM'd you based on your stories. It's kind of like, I can really resonate with that. Yeah. So you kind of just do it in so many different ways, and also more formally through Vibe 365 with 52 weeks of bravery as well. Like, how did you know you had this in you? Like, how did you know I've got this calling?
Yeah, for sure. Probably not until, I don't know, definitely in my adult life.
Yeah.
If I look back into times that I was in primary school and secondary school, I definitely see that there were things that I used to do because I wanted to bring people together. Yeah. And some people may go for things in entrepreneurship because they love to make money in different ways. And I thought there's two different types of entrepreneurs. Yeah. Ones who are more so financial entrepreneurs, some who are passion driven. Yeah. Not so that you can't get a mixture of the both, but I was never the kid in school who was like, okay, there's these little 10p sweets, I'm going to flip it to make 30p and do that. It wasn't about that. It was about bringing people together, and just for people to be able to either achieve what they want to achieve or be able to be who they are freely. I think that's a big thing for me, not to tell people or add any pressure onto this is what kind of person you should be, or this is what you should go for. It's okay, whatever you're choosing, is that something that you want to do or that you feel pressured by somebody else? Then once we've gotten that, it's all right, well, how can you be the most authentic, free version of yourself while doing that? So I probably realized that later on in adulthood through the different things that I would do. And because you mentioned something earlier about moving in silence, but the reason why you would share things is for accountability. Yeah. I would share things for personal accountability. Then I would realize from like conversation it strikes up, or just people's questions or saying, I want to do this, like, how did you start? And then I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can make it like a fun challenge for people to join in, or some kind of community, and it grows from there.
Oh, no, I think that's so cool.
Thank you.
I think that's really amazing. And I think another thing I kind of wanted to ask is, so when you knew you had that in you, you didn't chill, because I know you have a very forever learning attitude. How did you foster that? How did you make that grow? How did you make that, that urge to kind of help people, like you recognize you have the ability of bringing people together, sharing the accountability, sharing information generally as well to help people towards whatever it is they want to do and pursue. And then how did you kind of, how did you foster that part in you?
Yeah. So shout out to my grandma. She passed in 2018, but I always say that she's like my role model, greatest inspiration. And I just always say, like, if I could be a quarter of the woman that she was, I would be so happy. And she was the kind of person that people always gravitated towards her because she wanted to bring people together.
Yeah.
Whether that was through like her words, through her prayers, through her food, whatever it was, people just loved her. And she always made people feel at home, including myself. So when she did pass, it was a very difficult time, and I had to go through a lot of therapy. And the therapist said to me, like, clearly she was like your safety net. Everything was like always that was your safety net. Now, how do you go and create your own safety net?
Yeah.
What does that even look like? And I was thinking, what are you talking about, safety net? What are these terms? So getting to understand that, and then
can you explain?
Yeah, I will.
What is, because in this context, I'm also not necessarily understanding. Like safety net in what way?
So a safety net is kind of like somebody who you feel is your safe space, but if anything happens, like you bounce onto them, right?
Okay, yeah.
And when that safety net is taken away, so just imagine if there's like a, in what do they call it? Stunt, when people do stunts and stuff, and they always have that kind of safety net. So even if they're gonna do something dangerous, or if they've trained or whatever, there's still that safety net to catch them.
Yeah.
And I always felt that was my grandma. Anything I would tell her, whether it's good news, whether it's a challenge, whatever, that was that. And I became not like codependent in a bad way, but I just didn't realize that without her there, how much I just felt like I was falling, I was crashing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my therapist asked me, how are you going to build your own safety net? What does that look like now? Like, your grandmother isn't here in the physical sense, but what does that look like now in terms of for things to keep you going, and how you want to, you found her to be such an inspiration, how you'd like to be able to keep that alive, and, how can you create that on your own, but with other people at the same time?
Okay, yeah.
So that kind of led me to, bringing people together. And, there's sometimes people say like, well, I came into the world alone, I'll die alone. If I can do things by myself.
Yeah.
But I feel that maybe they just haven't had the best experiences with people. Once you find people, like you said, you've got a high quality circle of friends.
Yeah.
Maybe different circles of friends. So once you're able to find that and pour into them and have them pour into you, it's no longer a thing where you just want to do things alone. You're excited to share. You're happy to share things when people uplift you rather than people tearing you down.
Yes.
So I really wanted to be able to create that through different ways before I monetized it into a business. But I just felt that naturally it was something that I enjoyed doing. I love conversation and I love listening to different people's perspectives. Yeah. Even if I don't agree with it or if they don't agree with mine, being able to let them share openly what it is that they feel. And sometimes I might learn things or change my mind, and that's okay too.
I can definitely resonate with the whole, I'm going to do everything by myself, or, I need to do this by myself. And I feel like definitely in today's world, the whole being independent, I don't need any help. And a lot of people pride on doing things without help, whereas you can do things faster with help, more efficiently with help. But then, whether it's trust issues, whether it is evil eye, or whatever it is. So having such spaces is actually really, really important to kind of be like, you know what, it's okay. Like, my enemies aren't out to get me. No, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be scary because it's vulnerability at the end of the day. You're being vulnerable. It doesn't matter how big or small, it's vulnerability. So I get it. And I definitely know that I was definitely once in that space where I was just like, no, let me not tell anybody. Whether it's because, I just didn't want to show myself, or I don't want anyone's opinion projected on me. I wasn't, sometimes depending on how well you know a person, do you know whether they're projecting their own insecurities or genuinely saying, you should consider X, Y, Z when you're doing this. And sometimes it can be hard to know which one it is. So kind of like having that space where it's like, you know what, this is, no one's out here to get you. It's fine. It is important, and those spaces are needed. Those spaces are completely necessary. You mentioned so after you lost your safety net, you went through therapy to recognize that you needed to build your own safety net. And that's a form of investing in yourself as well.
It is.
Are there other ways that you've invested in yourself as well?
Yeah, definitely. So therapy, like, I also recognize that sometimes it might take a while before you get the therapist who's best suited for you.
Yeah.
So that was a little journey. But therapy was definitely one of the ways that I invested in myself. Different videos or audios that I would listen to help build myself up.
Yeah.
So for some people, it could be within the areas of dating. For some people, it could be family relationships or careers. But whatever it was, I had to be able to consume content that was nourishing me and nurturing me, building me up. So that was another way. Business mentors and coaches when I was going towards that way. So investing in that to be able to understand that, yes, I do know that I could, work on things and try and find my way to whatever I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. However, I just like to be able to understand from people who have been there, done that, and ask them, have that kind of direct access.
Yes.
To ask them those questions to help guide me into what I recognize to be success, because everyone will have a different version, right?
Absolutely.
So those are also other ways that I had invested, and also investing my time more in people.
Yeah.
I think that, there's just so much richness from different people in conversations. And I once did a course, and the guy, Jazz Rose, he said communication is one of the highest forms of currency. So sometimes we'll say like the dollar, the pound, or whatever, but just being able to open up your communication pool to a lot more, because before I was a person that I was sitting in Uber, I don't want the Uber driver to talk to me. Just get me to my destination. Yeah. So starting to work on things like that, I had to say to myself, but why? Like, what is the big issue, this big block that's stopping you from just having a little conversation?
And in this country, people do not talk to each other. They don't talk to, I told you, like, my cousin from the States is here with me, and we were out yesterday. When I tell you, where are you from? So sorry, I did that. It's so terrible. But every quarter, she's just conversating so easily. Maybe it's just a cultural thing as well here, but she was just easily conversating with everybody. Even when we go out shopping, she's just did it. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, here we're just looking at each other's face.
Like, we're not even looking at each other. We're just minding our own business. Straight tunnel vision. So I started to do more of that, or things that would make me feel uncomfortable. So naturally, I'm not a person to walk into a lift or an elevator and start talking to someone. So just starting to do that and be like, hey, how's your day? Or, complimenting strangers. Yeah. Starting to do a lot more of that. And it's just opened so many doors. It's opened so many doors. Like, I tell people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had this conversation with this person. Yeah. And it's led to this, and this has led to this. So I think really utilizing that, not just for what I can get out of that person, because I don't want people to think, oh, let me start talking and then I'm going to see what I can get. Yeah. But to be able to enrich yourself as a person as well. And, you can always learn and develop. There's always room for improvement as a human being. True. So I think that was another way that I started to invest within myself, by investing in people.
And it's also just a good way of working generally on your conversation skills, on your communication skills face to face, because that's I feel like it's actually just a dying skill. A lot of people, and dare I say, of younger generations who spend more time on their phones, etc. And I mean, me too. I spend a lot of time on my phone because that's just how we communicate nowadays. But I do feel that I was a better communicator in face-to-face 10 years ago than I am now. Like, I genuinely believe that. Yeah. And just verbally, I feel like my written communication can be okay, but then that's mainly because of work. But yeah, because you have to. But otherwise, I genuinely feel just literally just talking and having a conversation about anything, it is a skill that is dying. And I feel like it's something that people used to do just because they used to do it, and they didn't even realize that it's necessarily a skill. And then now, because it's deteriorating, or at least I feel it's deteriorating, it has then become a skill. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And listening as well, like the skill of actually active listening and attentive listening. Our attention spans have become shorter and shorter and shorter with the social media and all that kind of stuff. And I know the way how I can just scroll past certain things, if I see more than a few lines of like writing, sometimes I'm not always going to pay attention. So I have to actively say to myself, like, no, Bev, read this. Yeah. What is it? That's all you want to see, the next thing, because otherwise it's going to be an endless scroll. Having the discipline to say, all right, come back into that present thing without trying to hop into the next all the time.
True. I'm guilty of that as well.
Well, I think we
It's
all are.
just, yeah, you just,
Yeah.
it's just automatic.
Yes, exactly.
It's just on autopilot.
And the way how things have been shaped. So I get it. But then it's, like you said, using that skill or crafting that skill.
When I was introducing Beverly, I spoke a lot about the space that she creates in terms of allowing you to move out of your comfort zone to feed, curiosity. Well, at least I've fed my curiosity a lot. and also just self-improvement generally. And Beverly, I know you did between your 29th and your 30th birthday, you did 52 weeks of bravery.
I did.
Where you did that was like, it was, to be honest, if you did that on Patreon, I would have paid to watch it.
Wow.
100%. If that was on Patreon.
Wow.
So Beverly did a challenge every week, and whether it's big, small, doesn't matter. Challenge every week for 52 weeks straight, documented why she did it, how she felt while doing it, and how she felt after. Shared it with everybody on Instagram where it was personal. She just, said it open. This is a personal one, but I've done it. On to the next week. And I was just like, following that was just amazing. And she reloaded it last year, so 2022, which I joined as well, and which I absolutely, absolutely love. Like, I could go on and on. If you see my notebook on how I could go on and on, but I think I'll probably save it for that episode where I'll go into a bit more detail in how that has impacted me personally. But just in terms of constantly coming out of your comfort zone, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get comfortable stepping out so frequently? So are you very like risk-taking in that sense, or is it the what if, or like how did you become so comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I loved 52 Weeks of Bravery, and I was so glad when you joined last year.
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, it makes stepping up your comfort zone a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, what am I going to do this week, or how am I going to plan for, the week after? And I noticed that myself included, a lot of us struggle with consistency. Yeah. And that's okay. It's about how do we put the solutions in place. And the reason why I started 52 Weeks of Bravery is because when I was 29 and knew that I was going to be 10 and 30, I felt nervous about it. I felt, we have a lot of societal pressures. Oh, when you turn 30, you should have this and this. And
I blame GQ, but.
And then you have like Forbes 30 under 30 and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's Forbes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was GQ. It is Forbes, yes. But yeah.
So there's a lot of different things. And I felt that I just wasn't content with where I was. I was grateful for certain things,
Yeah.
Making it 29, working my way to being 30 years old, but I just was not content. And I understand that a lot of people will say, age is, this is age and it's a number and different constructs and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, that wasn't enough. For me, I was like, this is how I'm feeling. What would make me feel better? And for me, it was just doing something that would feel like more of a milestone towards that. So I said, cool, let me work on doing things leading up to my 30th birthday that I haven't done before or that I've avoided. So originally it was going to be 12 months of bravery, like one thing per month. Yeah. So I started writing down a list of things I wanted to accomplish and overcome. And that list started to go to 16, to 20 things. I thought, wow, this is a lot. So then I decided, let me do one thing every week. Yeah. I didn't have all 52 things, but I thought I've got a big enough number. Let me say I'm going to do 52 weeks of bravery, coming out of my comfort zone every single week. And then that way it doesn't leave too long before the next thing. Yeah. To kind of, let's say it's like 3-4 weeks in between, maybe I might feel like, oh, okay, it's going to be more scary now to do the next thing. Yeah. Whereas if I'm constantly every single week doing something that's new and brave, then my body's going to adapt to it. So it's all about how can I rewire and reprogram, recondition my body and my mind to something new and the kind of woman that I want to transition into. And that's why 52 Weeks of Bravery began, and I documented it on Instagram because I wanted that accountability. Yeah. And it was something really exciting. We were in the pandemic at the time as well. There was so much negative media there was an influx of all the things that were going wrong. Yeah. All the things that are gonna impact our future negatively. And I thought, if I keep consuming this, I know it's just going to keep pulling me back, questioning myself. So what do I have within myself, like the power that I can unlock within myself to kind of change that narrative?
Yeah.
And that's why I decided to go ahead with 52 Weeks of Bravery.
Okay. So that's kind of like how you built the resilience through basically it's practice.
It is.
It's basically the whole practice make perfect.
You have to build that muscle. Like when you go to the gym, you have to keep building it, right?
So it's literally just. So I'm waiting for like the big secret. I was like, what is the secret? Because it's daunting.
Yes,
it's daunting because like, how do you get so comfortable with like an unknown outcome, and it could be just unknown in the sense of how you're going to feel, because you might do your brave thing and maybe not feel all too great about it, because maybe, the outcome may have been different and it may have impacted you emotionally in a different way that you didn't expect. So those type of unknown outcomes, like, how do you build that type of like resilience to be like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I don't, because if it's, if there was a certain outcome, it wouldn't necessarily be brave anymore because, it's certain.
Yeah.
But that unknown, how did you how did you get so comfortable with that as well?
Yeah. So 2 things. I kind of like risk assess the different things that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And for example, if I'm going to have like a really sensitive personal conversation with someone that I'm really nervous to bring up and to initiate, I ask myself, okay, if the conversation goes this way, how am I going to feel? If it goes that way, how am I going to feel? If they never want to talk to me again, how am I going to feel?
Yeah.
If if everything goes out the window, what's the worst that can happen? And each and every time, it's like the worst that can happen is they don't see your way. They go and tell other people about what you've said. But at the same time, I would have done myself proud by living for myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we might, think that we're keeping peace by not saying things, but we're keeping the peace around us instead of that peace within us. Inside us, we're still like hesitant or apprehensive about things, and it's on your mind.
Yeah.
So for things to be able to be off my mind, I have to have that conversation, or whatever that brave task for that week would have been.
Yeah.
Let me go and do it. And also with 52 Weeks of Bravery, when I got the idea, I thought, I need to execute this, because if someone else does it and I don't do it, I'll be really upset.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh man, I should have done it. I should have gone for it. So that was also something that kept me going. And I think one of my friends once said, when she was getting ready for her wedding, I asked her, I said, how do you know though, when you got that dress and your wedding's, let's just say, at a year in advance, how do you know you want to go for that dress that you might not want to go for a different one? And she said, because if that was the last dress and someone else took it and I couldn't have it, I would think about how I would feel. And if I would feel like I would regret it, then I'm going to go for that dress. So for me, if I would feel that if I didn't go for that and I would regret it, then I have to act on it.
Yeah, that's the sign to be like, yes, go act on it. Okay.
Exactly. But I would say the comfort zone and being comfortable with being uncomfortable is something that I had built up over the years. So starting from Challenge 100, going through, I did something called like my what did I call it? Rediscovery December, my October pledge. I've always done these different things or challenges because that's the way in which I can be motivated. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, if this is like a challenge, it adds excitement, it adds fun, something that I'm working towards. And I'll just name it whatever I feel comes to me. But even with Challenge 100, it started through a conversation with a guy that I was having years ago. And I said to him, okay, I'm going to try and wake up tomorrow morning at this time to go to the gym. And he was just like, take out the word try. Why are you always trying? And it annoyed me because I thought, how dare you? Who are you? I've already said this. That is a great thing. And then he said, take out the word try and I guarantee that you're going to wake up the next day and do it. Which I did. But then I said to him, well, even if I said try, I'm probably sure that I would have woken up anyway. But that was kind of me not being open to what he was saying because I was on the defensive, right? And thinking, what are you talking about? But then day after day, I decided to keep on going, taking out try, saying that I would come and going ahead and do it. And then I ended up working out in the gym for 100 days in a row. And then it went beyond that.
Yeah.
That's when I then came back. Then two of my friends or three of my friends said, oh, I would love to do like the 100-day challenge the next time you do it. And I thought, the next time I've already done 105 days.
What next time?
But they really wanted to do it, and they were going to do it without me. And I thought, no.
Sorry, this is my thing now.
Let's do it together. And then, so the second time I did Challenge 100, it was with them. And the third time I thought, well, what about, and I think someone else said it, but they said that they would want to do a different challenge. And I thought, well, let's open it up. It doesn't only have to be fitness related.
Yeah.
Anyone that's got some kind of goal, let's work at it for 100 days of consistency. So that was like really good. Had people join in, and then it's kind of grown from there. So it's been a long journey of practicing how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's not by accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not by accident. And I know kind of going to circle back to Vibe 365 as well, because Vibe 365 also isn't by accident. I feel like all of those things that you've done over the years is just, that's the embodiment.
Wow.
And I know, of course, it started as a dance company as well. So again, bringing people together, sharing a passion. And I know you're a passionate dancer. So, you know, so it's, I feel like everything, it just felt like a really natural path and like a very natural evolution. That's the word I'm looking for. It seems like it's a very natural evolution, like of your journey, of your passions, of your skills as well. And yeah, here we are today. And then on Vibe 365, so I feel that's what you do full time now, right? And you were, prior to that, you were in full-time employment.
Yes.
Can you speak a bit more about that? About how was it leaving, you know, full-time employment, and moving on to full-time entrepreneurship? And, you know, were you scared? Were any concerns? Because that's essentially, you know, a skyrocketing journey. I recall it being your last challenge in 52 weeks of bravery.
It was.
So again, it was a build up, that intentional change, that positioning for you to be like, okay, I'm leaving my job now. I'm going to pursue what it is I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk through that process.
Yes. So I left my job end of October 2021.
Yeah.
The plan was to leave full-time employment like a year after that. It was never going to be so soon. But then I was talking to a couple of people, and they were talking about when you give yourself like a long time, what's going to happen is that you're just going to take more baby steps until you get there, because you feel that because this is a huge jump, you need a much longer time.
Yeah.
When actually, once you start committing to something, you're going to be able to take like 10 extra actions that you're doing. So I thought, okay. One of my friends actually said, he was like, make that your, like, what if you was to make that your last challenge? And I thought, well, that's a bit quick. But then I started to calculate things. And at the time I was trading as well. So I was saying to myself, I had savings, and I said, okay, cool. I was making like £300 to £400 a day through the trading. Of course, not every single day. But I got into a comfortable place. So I thought that's fine, because I've got income to fall back on, have savings. And then I made sure that I had like 3 contracts lined up through my business that I was setting up, so that when I left my job, I would be okay financially. And I'll still work with my business mentors as well. So I kind of felt, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but everyone always figures things out if you have that attitude to there's always going to be a solution. So I remember telling my manager that I was going to be leaving, and then he was like, oh my gosh, it crushed him, because like, we were such a good team. And then he said, so, you know, what job are you going on to? And I said, my own. And he was like, wow, that's so brave. And I think it's like once I started to tell people, and they were just like, wow. And I thought, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Because, you know, when people say like, wow, but it's like, wow, are you okay, babe?
It was a different type of wow.
Yes. So then you start to question things. And then I think it was just a couple of days after I left my job, I went to like an all-day conference. And one of the speakers said something. He said, the parachute, you will never allow the parachute to open if you don't take the jump. And that kind of like confirmed things for me. Like, I mean, sometimes the parachute doesn't open when you jump, but we're not going to think about that, right? We're going to think about the times when the parachute does open, and you take that scary leap, take that scary jump. So for me, it was all about preparing my mind. Oh my gosh, it has been such a roller coaster since being in full-time like business on my own.
Yeah.
Because you have to manage yourself.
Yeah.
And there's times where you think, well, technically I don't really have to be awake at this time. So let me just take the few hours to sleep in. Self-management has been one of the most difficult things for me personally.
Yeah.
But also putting that as a challenge on myself, because I know that if I don't make X amount of money, then where's it going to come from?
Yeah.
So being able to do that at the same time as really aligning myself with what people do need and do want through the kind of coaching that I offer, and how I'm able to sustain myself and keep on growing and scaling. So it's only been like over a year now, but I've just learned so many things. And I said in my first year of business, I want to fall down as many times as possible. I want to make mistakes as many times as possible, because that's the quickest way a person can learn.
Yeah.
So there's definitely been mistakes that I've learned from, times that I've fallen down, but I don't think that there's anything that has said to me like, this is so bad that enough has to be enough.
Yeah. So you're not like, never mind. I've tried it. I've given it a go. I'm leaving it behind. I'm running. No.
Exactly.
You're just like,
and I think it's to know that you are going to feel so crap down sometimes. That's so natural, whether you're in employment or you're in business or you're a student. It's life. There's just going to be things that do not go according to plan, things that come in, but what can you fall back on?
Yeah.
So my community of people around me, like business networks that I'm in, the events that I go to, just really enriching myself with those different things. So my mindset has had to just grow and grow and grow, and still is. That would be one of the things between employment to full-time entrepreneurship and finances. So really, like, not avoiding the numbers, and really getting to grips with, okay, you might be a product business, if I sell this amount of products minimum per month, am I going to be able to sustain myself? Or what else do I need to be able to pay? And when I have to start paying HMRC and these taxes, we don't want to go into tax evasion and all that kind of stuff, because it brings more issues. So really understanding, do I need to speak to a bookkeeper, an accountant, who can help me with these strengths? There's so many free resources as well if you like look into things, but also asking people. So it's been a huge roller coaster, but I feel like people experience roller coasters in life generally.
Yes, they do.
It's about how well equipped that you can be and utilizing the networks around you. For myself personally,
that is a gem. That is an amazing gem to end on. Beverly, I would like to thank you so much for coming today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been so insightful. I'm going to obviously re-listen, and I'm going to write some of these down as well, because there are many interesting quotes, takeaways that you've had that you've kind of like implemented back into your life and moved forward with it. And yeah, it's just been like, I'm just gritting teeth. So no, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much.
I've loved it. Thank you so much. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yes, we are rooting for you and looking forward to all the journeys here and on your sabbatical.
Thanks. So where can people find you? How can people engage with you?
Yes. So on Instagram, can find Vibe365, which is VYBE365. Also, the website is vibe365.co.uk. My personal Instagram is Bev Did That with 3 T's on the end.
Cool. And I'm going to add, because it's a podcast, Beverly also has a podcast called Own Your Vibe.
I do. It's been a little bit of a break, but it's there.
It doesn't matter. It is there. And I checked and you have 21 episodes. So guys, go and listen.
Thank you.
There's lots of interesting conversations and topics on there. So it's definitely one that I recommend. And I feel like it also definitely reflects the whole, how you can, how many different people have so many interesting insights on different things. And your podcast is a great reflection of that.
Thank
so
you.
People, have a listen, please.
Yes, and we do have in-person events every first Wednesday of the month in London. So if you're London-based, or even if you're not in London but want to come, then every first Wednesday of the month, we have that in-person time.
We go. Brilliant. So that's all, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, rate and review. Let me know what you think. Get in touch with Bev as well. And yeah, feel free to DM me at Scribble to Skyrocket on Instagram, or send an email at scribbletoskyrocket@gmail.com. All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.